Have you ever been the person everyone calls when they need help? The person who keeps everything together? The one who comforts others, but rarely gets comforted? The one who says, "I'm fine," even when you're falling apart inside? If you're watching this episode and you have not already subscribed to the Marvellous-U Podcast, please subscribe now. This is the only way you will help this channel grow. And if you know someone that really needs to hear this, please share, leave your comment, and let's build this channel as a safe space where women are supported and heard. Today, we're talking about the emotional exhaustion that comes from always being the strong one. Not because strength is bad, but because carrying everything for everyone all the time eventually comes at a cost. Society often praises women for being strong, and oftentimes strength becomes part of our identity. Many women don't just do strength, they become known as the strong one. And what do that actually mean? When you are the dependable friend, the reliable employee, the resilient mother, the problem solver, you are known as the strong one. Strength is beautiful, so don't get me wrong. The problem begins though when strength becomes the only version of ourselves we are allowed to show. There was a time in my life when people assumed that I was coping simply because I kept functioning. I'm a carer to a child with special needs. Alongside my caring journey, I was also running my business and also working in the community, facilitating a club for young girls. While it may appear on the outside that I was functioning, I wasn't coping. I was also going through my own midlife changes, and I was struggling. There is a difference between surviving and truly being okay. What people saw as coping was just me surviving. I was not truly okay, even though I was functioning. And many of us will find ourselves in this space where people will assume that we're coping simply because we kept functioning. And for women described as strong, we see ourselves functioning even when things are not going as it should be, even when we are not okay. And that is where emotional exhaustion comes in. It's the hidden cost of always being strong. Because when you're constantly carrying emotional burdens, when you're constantly supporting everyone else's crisis, and then you're having little space to process your own feelings, you become exhausted. And for some people also, you become isolated, because people often check on those who appear vulnerable. But when you are the one that is strong, nobody thinks about checking on you because they just assume that you are okay. Sometimes, the strongest people receive the least care because everyone assumes they are managing. Everyone assumes that they are okay. Someone told me once that, "Oh, I didn't call you because I know you're going to call me. I know you always do that anyway." Can you imagine that? And so, people just assume that you don't need support because you are the strong one. And so strong people are frequently overlooked, and this can lead to burnout. And what are the signs you see? Emotional fatigue. You become irritable, and you have feelings of numbness and loss of motivation. Some people begin to find it difficult to enjoy things. And this also can lead to resentment. When you keep giving and giving without replenishment, without anybody giving back, it builds resentment, especially when you begin to feel unappreciated. And sometimes you're secretly wishing someone would notice your struggle. But like I said before, strong people are often overlooked. So this leads to resentment. Why do women find it so hard to ask for help? A lot of women, they keep doing and doing, giving and giving, being available for everyone. And even when they are struggling, they are not able to ask for help. When I was going through the season where I was really just surviving and not okay, I wasn't coping even though I was functioning. One reason why women find it so hard to ask for help is the fear of appearing weak. Because many women have been raised to believe that vulnerability is weakness. They fear disappointing others. When you are raised in that kind of environment where you are not allowed to show up as weak, you are not even allowed to cry, you are always afraid of disappointing others, you find it difficult to ask for help. Even when you're struggling, you still want to keep doing because you don't want to disappoint. You don't want people to be disappointed in you, rather. And then there's the culture and family expectations. Our culture as women has raised us to be the nurturer. So we are being the nurturer, we are being self-sacrificing, we are being available to everyone. And when you are raised in that kind of culture where you have those assigned roles as a woman, to always be there, to sacrifice yourself, to be available to everyone, you find it difficult to ask for help because society and family expectations has kind of assigned this role to you that you are supposed to be this. You are supposed to be the strong one. You are supposed to be available. And for some women also, there is a question of identity. Strength becomes linked to self-worth. So we feel the stronger we portray ourselves, the better we feel about ourselves. It becomes part of our identity. But let me ask us a question. Who would you be if you weren't carrying everyone else's expectations? Sometimes we become so accustomed to helping others that we feel uncomfortable receiving help from others. But how do you know that you are emotionally exhausted? What signs do you look for to show that you may be emotionally exhausted, especially when you are always being the strong one? I want you to reflect with me. Some signs will include feeling tired even after resting. These are signs to show that you are emotionally exhausted. When you find yourself crying more easily, and then the emotional numbness. For some women, they just cannot feel anything anymore. You're emotionally numb. There's no emotion, no expression of emotion. You are in a state of constant overwhelm. You're always overwhelmed. Everything becomes too much. Another sign is feeling alone despite being surrounded by people. When you find yourself struggling to enjoy things you once loved, and also struggling with difficulty in concentrating. When you find yourself with increased frustration and impatience, these are signs to show that you may be emotionally exhausted. And I've experienced some of this. I knew that it was a cry for help when I found myself in those moments of increased frustration and impatience. Think about this. Emotional exhaustion doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it looks like waking up every day and simply feeling depleted. It's a state of burnout. How do we stay strong without carrying everything alone? How do we do that? Because like I said, our culture and our family expectations, they expect us to always be available. They expect us to always show up as strong women. But how do we stay strong without carrying everything alone? And this is something that I had to learn, especially after experiencing severe burnout and emotional exhaustion. One of the things that we can do is allowing yourself to be human. You are human. You don't have to earn your rest. You don't have to prove your worth through suffering. Our cultures and our family expectations sometimes make it look like we have to keep suffering. We have to keep self-sacrificing. You don't have to. Allow yourself to be human. You deserve to rest. Another thing you can begin to think of is learn to receive. If you're someone that grow up in an environment where you are hardly giving anything, learning to receive can also be a struggle. But you have to come to a place where you just learn to receive. Accept help. Accept kindness. Accept support. I struggled with this for a long time because it's almost like I just want to do things by myself because I've always done it by myself anyway. I've never really had anybody help me in a way I needed to be helped. But I had to learn to receive help and accept it as being good enough. Accept support because you can't do it on your own all the time. You have to be able to accept this. If you are not able to receive, if you are not able to learn to receive, you will not be able to accept. Another way we can stay strong without carrying everything alone is by building safe spaces. And what are these safe spaces that we can build? Having trusted relationship, a trusted circle of friends, belonging to support groups, having mentors. And mentors, oh my God, this is one of the life transforming, factor in my life. Having a mentor completely changed my life, completely changed my whole worldview and my whole outlook of life. And counselors, because you need people that can help to keep you grounded, that can help to keep you safe. And these are the safe spaces you can build for yourself, having trusted friends and support groups and mentors and counselors. Another way is to set boundaries. For many women who are people pleasers, who are used to being there for everyone, setting boundaries becomes a huge task that, is difficult, a huge mountain that is difficult to climb. But this is something you can learn. Not every problem is yours to solve. Not every request requires a yes. Sometimes you have to just stop yourself from being the yes person. Learn to say no. Learn to establish boundaries. It's not all about you. Set those boundaries. Another way is to check in with yourself. Ask yourself, what do I need right now? What am I carrying that isn't mine? Who supports me? When I began to ask myself this question, when I began to check in with myself and ask these questions, what do I need right now? What am I carrying that isn't mine? Who supports me? It gave me clarity. It actually helped me to know that I needed to establish boundaries around me. It made me understand that I don't have to be strong. I don't have to be strong for everyone else. I don't have to carry everything alone. I am human. I am a person. And I deserve rest. I needed a break. As I bring this conversation to a close, I want you to know that being strong doesn't mean carrying everything alone. A lot of us as women have done this. They have carried burdens alone. They have carried a lot on their shoulders. And in their later years, they break down. They break because they have had to do it all alone, without support, without asking for help, just because they wanted to show that they are strong. They didn't want to show their vulnerability. In our last interview with my guest, we talked about women hiding and staying in the shadows. But true strength includes knowing when to rest, when to ask for help, and when to let others carry you for a while. It's okay to be weak sometimes. The strongest women are not those who never break. They are the women who allow themselves to be human, who honors their limits, and who understand that vulnerability and strength can exist side by side. These are the strongest women. And I'm glad I was able to come to that place where I knew that I could raise my hand up and say, I need help. I'm struggling. I can't do this anymore. I need your support. That is where true strength is. You need to come to the place where you understand that vulnerability and strength can exist side by side. Allow yourself to be human. Before I bring this conversation to an end, I want to ask, what is that burden you have been carrying alone that you no longer need to carry by yourself? Think about it and share your thoughts in the comments. Send a message or reflect, on the question in a journal. What burden have you been carrying alone that you no longer need to carry by yourself? You were never meant to be strong for everyone, every moment, every day. Even the strongest hearts, they need somewhere safe to rest. So today, I invite you to rest. You are marvelous. Thank you for listening. See you in the next episode.